So I also wish the media was here, because I think we're about to make an exclusive, and I don't think that self-care is ever going to be spoken about this before. Hopefully in the future it will be. So self-care is super important, because as Rob just said, if we can't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of anyone else. So why care? We have a responsibility to care for ourselves, because without that care, we can't stand up to the face of what's occurring and what we face every day. So basically, I'm saying I'm in a room full of medical practitioners. I've got Belinda and Gary Fettke here. I'm sure they can talk about self-care better than I can, in the fact that you all know what self-care is. So I'm not going to bore you with the details. The picture clearly shows, oh, I'm on the wrong one. So there's one thing that I might add, since I'm a psychologist standing up here, that photo's to represent we know what happens when we don't care for ourselves. That's too much food, too much alcohol, too much whatever. So that's for us to look at. But something that, you know, for us to look at, especially as medical professions and people who do care, you know, when you do care, it is very hard to not put yourself first, because, you know, your nature is to truly care for others. So I like the example, you know, when you're on an aeroplane and they say the plane's going down, get your mask, but put it on yourself first. And as a little girl, I used to laugh and go, who would do that? Because my mum would rather die than not put that mask on me first. It didn't make sense to me, but now I understand, you know, if you're dying, I'm dead. If she's dead, I'm dead. So it makes sense that we actually do need to do that, but what gets in the way of that? And for each of us, we need to look at that, because there are so many things that comes up for us to go, I can't do that. A mother, for example, a mother's always thinking she has to put her kids before her. In fact, I got reported once for having told a mother, look, if you're so tired, go to bed. Kids can, you know, your kids, they're 16, 17, 18. They can have bacon and eggs and toast, I'm sure. Anyway, the client didn't report me. Someone that heard about it reported me. I won't divulge that. Point being, so for us, you know, those, if I'm giving anything for self-care from a psychological point of view, it's just that, you know, have a look at some of the things that might get in the way for you. So I really love this from the Dalai Lama when he says, in dealing with those who are undergoing great suffering, if you feel burnout setting in, if you feel demoralized and exhausted, it is best, for the sake of everyone, to restore yourself. The point has to have a long-term perspective. So especially for all of you in this room, you know, we're up against something huge. We saw Fletcher not give a damn. I was watching people talk to him after he presented, and his whole body was like, say what you want, I don't care. He stood up here pretending that he cared, that he pretended that he was here for a reason, but he did not care. So we're all, you felt the room, we were all outraged and we were all upset by that. What do? We've got to make sure that we see there's a purpose bigger than just today, that we're in this for the long haul, and in that we do need to take care of ourselves. We, in effect, I love how the Dalai Lama says things without actually nailing you over the knuckles. He's basically saying, take responsibility. So a term that came up for me when I was feeling into this presentation was the psychological term learned helplessness. So I don't know how many of you know that, but when you're faced by a situation that happens to you that's completely unfair, completely unjust, you tend to want to give up because you don't understand. So in that, we've got to find a way to come back from that. And there's lots of ways to do that, but the main one, and I put there take back control, which is true, but it's also take back your power. Because all these things that happen take your power away. It makes you feel like, what do? I'm up. I mean, some of these stories, the fact that you're still standing is amazing. That's because you're taking back your power and you're saying no to something that is completely unjust. That's the only way to do it. I love that little wallaby, by the way. I don't have the quokka. I don't have time to share the story, but ask me in the breaks because it's a great story. So again, we have a responsibility to take care of ourselves. It's like preaching to the converted in here in the fact that each one of you is doing that to some level, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So it's almost like we need to broadcast this out wider because you're here because you do care and that you are willing to do what's necessary. So to all of you, I say, well done, that's amazing. So as a psychologist and as someone who's had 4 complaints made against her by someone that doesn't know me, never met me, but for other reasons, I sit up here and I go, okay, if I'm going to say stuff, I have to prove it. There's got to be evidence-based to justify what I'm about to say. And I wanted to talk about self-care. The true way to care for yourself is by taking responsibility. And I was like, I'm not going to find a study that's going to back that up. I think there's a high above power looking out for me because that same moment, in comes an email into my inbox of this study by this woman, Angela Duckworth, who works with the cadets in America, who wanted to find out why some were successful and why others were not, why they were able to stand up to the massive amount of adversity that they face. So she basically said it had nothing to do with IQ, it had nothing to do with strength. Basically, she was saying that there's a difference in the way people look at life that supports them to get through or not get through. Sorry, do you want me to read that or are you okay? You got it. So, what were the key points from the study? It's gorgeous, isn't it? I'll go back. Did I miss one? Oh, sorry. It's pretty much that change of outlook is everything that every presenter has pretty much said when they've stood up to here today. It's the fact that we can give up and roll over, or we can go, you know what, I actually can make a difference here. I can inspire a different way. So that's basically what she's saying. That's not what the cadets did, but that's what we're bringing here. So, ponder, what is that? Go back, you want it? You know how I got that picture? I googled pondering animals. Done? Okay. So one of the key points was what she found in this study was you always had 2 choices. You could decide which way to go. And so you could overcome an obstacle or you could give in and roll over. So from what I've heard about a lot of the presenters today, they didn't roll over, they considered it. Some of you said you considered it, I've considered it. But at the end of the day, you didn't. And so you chose a way to go that actually strengthened you, empowered you. Like, sorry, Jane Tolman, I know you hate the spotlight, but when you heard her talking about, I wanted to give up, and then suddenly her saying, no way, I'm not going to let these bastards get me. That was a decision she made that actually cared for her, that actually empowered her and gave her all the strength she needed to do what she needed to do. And that's what this room brings. That's what's so inspiring about this group of people. Okay, so we saw Fletcher today. We know we're in for the long haul. We know that we're not going to get a Royal Commission tomorrow. We know that we're not going to get politicians tomorrow. We've got to, yes, be steady and focused, but also aware that we got to take time out and just get on with our lives as well, because this isn't going to change overnight. Hapara will be Apara, but not tomorrow. The other thing is keep the emotions out of it. So you can hear when someone's highly reactional, or like I understand we get hurt and we can't understand how people can do the things that they do. But if we react to that and we get incited by that, we're actually, I'm sorry to say it like this, but we're actually no better. It's like 2 bulls coming at each other and no one's going to listen. Belinda has a great way, like if you talk to Belinda Fecky, the way that she does it is let them think they're winning, but bring them everything. Make it joyful, make it playful, give them it all. And that's the way we do it without having to, but we do not play nice. We do not, like, one of the things, you know, we don't let Fletcher think that he's a saint. Thank you for coming. No, you're on notice. We don't actually make it okay for him. We say we'll be respectful, because that's the key point of all of this. Be respectful, be transparent, but don't let people off the hook. That's how we got into this mess. If we do not hold people responsible, if we do not hold people accountable, this is only going to get worse. It is not going to get better. You know, with all the stories I'm hearing and everything that's going on out there, no surprise to any of you, might sound dramatic, but the way that I describe it, this is a genocide on our health care system. We actually are losing daily, whether it be suicide or whether it be people quitting. Janstos, losing him as a psychologist, that's disgusting. This guy, I go, what does this man have to bring that they shut him down like that? Like, I actually want to talk to him and go, what are you here to bring? Because if they went to that effort to shut you down, I want to know. So we have to speak up, because if we're not careful, we're going to end up, and we're close to a system with people who don't care, that are happy to just get ahead, happy to get the money, happy to do whatever. And we're going to go, what happened? How did this happen? And again, I'm not preaching at you, because you're all here and you want to make a difference. But we have to get that point out there. We have to get the point that if we are not speaking up, if we are not making it clear what is going on, we are doomed, in effect. I got digressed. The point being, we can't do that emotional. We have to be assertive. We have to be assured. We have to be respectful. But we have to be clear. Prepared to make the tough calls. So it's the same thing. I love that. Well, look at those eyes. It says you don't get away from with anything. So, you know, we've got to be prepared to make that stand. And again, everyone in here pretty much does that. We've got to be prepared to stand up to someone like Arpa. Like, I was so impressed by the speakers just before Arpa's presentation. You guys did not hold back. There he was sitting there, your head is on the chopping block. You didn't hold back. I mean, that needs to be worldwide news. That needs to be commended. That is what that says. Make the tough calls, do it. You did it. It was beautiful. Congratulations to you. I don't remember all your names and I don't want to miss some, so I'm not going to name them. But everyone in this room is doing that. Just us being here, we're all doing that because we're clocked, but we're prepared to do it. Okay, back yourself. You know, everyone in here, whether we agree with what everyone's saying or whether we don't, the way forward is to actually back yourself, because you're going to stand up in front of people like Fletcher and they're just going to tell you you're an idiot. So you've got to be prepared to stand up and not let someone tell you that you're wrong in what you're thinking. And again, bringing it back to the introduction, how you care for yourself, how you look after yourself is going to make the difference between whether you're going to be able to do that and back yourself or whether you won't be able to. They all one and the same. Okay, be prepared when no one follows. So we heard of a couple of examples of people that did that when Xenophon presented, but everyone in this room is that. Charlie Tio's classic example. Again, I don't want to name names because a lot of you are doing that. You're out there in your professions leading and you're prepared to go where no one else is. And look what happened when a few people decided to make Hapara happen. Today we have a room full of people and quite a lot of members, which we never disclosed, but a lot of members now. We have a body. A few people were prepared to go where no one was prepared to go, and a groundswell has happened. We just got to keep growing that groundswell. Same thing, I pretty much said all of that. You know, we've got to be prepared to call out abuse. We've got to do it respectfully, but with utter and absolute authority. No more playing nice. They don't play nice. We don't need to play nice. It has to be called out. Do you want to read that? Give it a sec.
Can I add one line to that?
Yeah.
Whenever they abuse you, verbally, and there's lots of things that can't put it in writing.
Absolutely, because
And then they will.
we got that, Gary, from the presentation. You know, what I strongly took away from that is everything must be in writing. Ask for everything in writing. We've got to fight back and not get sucked into thinking that they're going to do the right thing, because they're not. It's a genocide. Let's call it for what it is. It's a genocide of those that truly care. They don't want a caring system. They want one they can control, make money, whatever it is. It's not about care anymore. As Maxine said, we do not have care in the healthcare system, yet it's full of people that care. So those people that are on the ground need to start speaking up, and we are the ones to inspire that. We are the ones to show them another way. We are the ones to show them that you can do it. Since I've had complaints, you should see the letters I've written to the governmentary bodies. They are full on. And my lawyers have all said, do not send that. You are asking to be slaughtered. Do not send that. I go, I have to. How can I not send that? And I haven't had a complaint since, because I think they're scared of me. So that's how we fight. But I do that because of the authority I have in me and the way that I care for myself. And I love how he does this. Total hats off. Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
Maxine for president.